Namaste. I thought I'd do a quick recording of downward facing dog today. Often thought of as a resting pose. For me, it's definitely not a resting pose. If you get downward facing dog correct, if you work with all of the alignments that are offered, it's actually a very strong pose. It's working so many different parts of the body. It's a fabulous pose. And I'm just going to run through some of those alignment principles with you today. Okay, so I'm going to remove this, or it's going to break. And we're going to just start on our hands and knees. If you have a block, grab a block. If you don't have a block, don't worry. We can just imagine that we have a block. And we're going to take this block and place it between our thighs. So we place it lengthways, just between the thighs. And we come into our all four position and we squeeze the block. Squeeze the block and then imagine taking that block back behind you. Can you see how my butt starts to stick out and I get this lovely arch in the spine? So I just release the block, I come back to all fours, tuck the toes, squeeze the block, watch what happens to my lower back. Breathe here. So my thighs are moving back, hips are widening, and that's what we need in downward facing dog. So when we lift up our knees, so quickly take your knees back just a tiny bit, press into those hands, lift up the knees, walk the feet forward so they're nice and comfortable, and then just drop down into your heels. Now it's when you get to this position that I want you to think about that imaginary block. Imagine you have that block between your thighs. Squeeze that imaginary block, so squeeze your thighs and then post that block back to the back of the room. Can you see how my thighs are starting to move back? That should give you wonderful extension through the backs of the legs. Take your gaze between your hands and then soften the neck. So my gaze is more now towards my big toes. I press into my hands and I start to spin the inner elbow creases towards each other. So my lower arms are rotating inward. That gives us a lot more strength through that lower arm. Come up high onto your tiptoes for a second. See if you can take your thighs back. And then very slowly as you exhale, drop down into your heels. Release the neck. Take a lovely big inhale here. And as you exhale, lengthen through the backs of the thighs. Now, squeeze your upper arms towards your ears. Keep them nice and strong. As you take your thighs back a little more, release the neck. And then slowly come down onto your knees. Sit back into a child's pose. Well done. Take a breath here. So when we're working in downward facing dog, we're working hands, wrists, arms, shoulders, back, legs. Every part of the body should be working really strongly. So just one more time. Hands come down, spread the fingers. Make sure that you have nice even weight through the thumb and the index finger. Turn the inner elbow creases towards each other so you get rotation in the lower arm. Inch the knees back just a little bit so they're further back from the hips. Tuck your toes, come up into a downward facing dog. Breathe here. I like to walk my feet in a little to make sure I'm in a comfortable position. And then as I exhale, I drop into my heels and I take my thighs back. Breathe here. So I'm going to squeeze the upper arms towards the ears. I'm going to imagine I've got that block between my thighs. Squeeze the block. Take the block back as if I'm posting it behind me. Feel my bottom blossom. I know that's a horrible, horrible term. And then hold all of that as you breathe and exhale into your heels. Take a couple of long, deep, even breaths here, remembering we continue to take the tops of the thighs back as we breathe into our heels. Come back onto our knees. Take a child's pose.